too?
Anytime you're ready.
Hey. Hey everybody, it's time for our next episode of Wine Crush Podcast. We got a special one today. You're gonna have two legends in one episode, so it's gonna be pretty rockin'. As always, we're down here in our cute little living room downtown McMinnville, drinking wine, having a good time, and talking about all things wine and winemakers. And today we have the two legends that I said. We have Joe Dobbs, who has been a regular before. He's I think graced us with his presence. Maybe last year, maybe the year before.
Yeah, it was the year before. Yeah.
And I don't know how hard he turned Mike Etzel's arm, but we have Mike Etzel sitting right next to him, and he's agreed to hang out with us and brought some wine, and we're going to talk about old projects, new projects, and kind of how they got into the industry to begin with, because they both have unique stories. So here we go.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so you guys ready?
Yeah,
we're gonna start with Joe, because he's done this before, and that way you can kind of
No, pressure's on.
yeah, pressure's on. So, as we always talk about, most people do not start in the wine industry, at least in Willamette Valley. They come into it in a roundabout way, somehow, some way, and yours was that way for sure.
Yeah, I think my story is a bit unique. There's a handful of us. Lynn Penner Ash, who's has sold her winery. Laurent Montaillou, Rob Stewart, handful of others that got into the business as a career initially, like right out of college or apprentice, etc. So I call myself the second coming of the modern era. So those, the pioneers, we all know who they were, that came to Oregon in the 70s in search of the holy grail of where to plant Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, red and white Burgundy. So yeah, I started in Oregon in 1986 at Elk Cove. But I started in the business 40 years ago in Germany, Weingut Edelhoff in Langenlohnsheim, which is tonight. And that was in 1985. And the reason I got into the wine business is I have a degree in biology from Southern Oregon University. I grew up an hour away from here, and I was pre-med, ended up getting a degree in biology. I was tired of school. The idea of studying for the MCAT test and taking it and hopefully getting into medical school is a long haul. And I remember in the early 80s, I actually remember Elk Cove was the first winery that hired me in the 80s, fast forward to 86, but in the early 80s, I saw in the news that they had some great international press out of Europe, and I think Sokol Blosser had some great press and a few others. And I had a good friend, she had spent a year abroad in Bordeaux and said, hey, you go check it out. And I had a goal of riding my bike through the Alps. I wanted to travel, I wanted to go to Europe. I was always into appreciating flavors and aromas. The joke around the house was you're gonna get your nose cut off because you're always sniffing this or sniffing that. And I grew up in my mother's and grandmother's kitchen, and so for me it was kind of a sixth sense. It was just a natural inclination to go to Europe and learn about the wine business. So long story short, I ended up working there in 85, 86 for the 85 vintage, incredible vintage. Of course, I didn't know the difference, but it was. I was in on the making of some Beerenauslese and Trucken Beerenauslese and ice wines, rare vintages that you can do all that. And that was my jumping off point 40 years ago. Here I am.
I'm always so intrigued when people end up in Europe, especially in the early 80s, because it wasn't as easy to get there. Like now there's daily flights, there's direct flights, there's, and it just wasn't, I think, it just wasn't as well thought of to pick up and just go to Europe for any amount of time, let alone go work.
Yeah, it was, the way that it worked out is that International Cool Climate Symposium was in Eugene at Hinman Vineyards. My dad, who also had a winery, we planted his vineyard in 84, 85. And he's a doctor, like a lot of doctors that end up getting in the wine business. And he was standing in line, and he met Herr Müller, who is a yeast geneticist from Darmstadt, West Germany, and got to talk and saying, hey, my son wants to go to Europe and learn about wine. And so he set me up with an apprenticeship with Weingut Edelhoff. And it took a long time to get my green card. So, I had to go there legally. And I went.
Do you have a good collection of German wines?
I did. I did, yes. I wish I still had some of those. we're gonna do a 40th celebration at our place upcoming soon, and so my task is to get wines from all the wineries I work for. I don't think I'm gonna find any 85 Riesling from Erboff Tesch. I'm working on Roumier and Lafon for some 88s. I don't have any of those at home, and then other wineries, Elk Grove, Hendon Vineyards, and Willamette Valley Vineyards. Of course, that was Family Estate, my other half of my life, or my business existence, I guess you could say, in wine business. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling on here, but no, I don't. Yeah. Hope to find some. So we'll see.
That's a bummer. That is one place in Europe that I really want to go experience wine is in Germany, kind of Germany, Austrian, that side of things. I mean, you hear about, French wines and Italian wines, but I'm like, something about Germany and Austria that is so intriguing to me. A lot of it is like maybe like family heritage that's in that area, but I love Riesling and I love a good white wine, and so I think that's a good place to start.
That's actually, Heidi, a bit why. Primarily, why I went to Germany was our family is half German. And I remember the first bottle of wine I bought in college was a Magnum of Knudsen-Erath Riesling. I baked the chicken in my oven in the dorm room and had some friends over and we drank Riesling. So that was an omen to the future. And, and the Pinot Noir was not king. I mean, there was Cabernet Planted, there was Chenin Blanc, there was this, that, and a lot of Riesling. And so I went to I went to Germany first to focus on Riesling and all kinds of other varietals. And I came back to Oregon in '86, and it's kind of, what's this Pinot Noir thing? Although I had heard about, Pinot Noir, of course. And at Elk Cove, then I learned all about Pinot Noir and how to make wine in a hands-on process versus like a product, so to speak. So
Yeah, it's a great lesson to learn and a great place to start. So, and there's really good food over there too.
it was good.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there 18 months.
Yeah.
It was
Good
quite an
wine,
experience.
good cheese, good bread. It's like all the ingredients to come back fat or have gained a few pounds anyways, which may or may not have happened to me. Yeah. Okay, let's shift over to Mike, just because I want to circle back to like your projects with Dobbes family and once you kind of moved into that. So I've had your son Jared on the show years ago, so I got like a brief little history of how the family got into it, but I want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. How did this whole wine thing come about for you?
Well, believe it or not, Elk Cove was one reason where I found the farm that Beaufrere. I made in 1986. I was living in Colorado Springs selling wine. I was a distributor for a distributor. And I came out to Oregon to get the Elk Cove 1983 Wind Hill Pinot Noir, which was the birth year of my oldest son, Jared. And in doing so, happened to stumble upon this farm. It was a foreclosure, government foreclosure. And we made an appointment with the realtor, and it was only 5 miles from Elk Cove. And we went and looked at the farm, just under 90 acres. They had a house, a couple barns. The government would carry the paper. I didn't have to qualify financially. $129,000, believe it or not.
Wow.
Which even then seemed very reasonable. Now it seems ridiculous. And my wife and I at that time walked up to the field, and it was south facing and felt good, and we committed to purchasing that afternoon. Of course, I got cold feet, buyer's remorse. So I called my sister and my beau-frere, my brother-in-law, who is a wine writer, was a wine writer, he's retired now. And he said, sure, why not? What? I only need $5,700 down. And so that was the start of what is now called Beaufrere. I had farming experience in Maryland, where I grew up, and our intention, Jacqueline and I, and the 3 children, were to just grow grapes. Plant a vineyard, grow grapes. At that time, it wasn't even the Ribbon Ridge AVA. It was all the Willamette Valley from Eugene to Portland, I guess.
Yeah, just south of Eugene to Portland, yeah. So I don't know.
Wasn't
Such a big
Willamette
area.
River, I guess?
Yeah.
250 miles, no, it's, yeah, 250 miles, yeah.
Today, there's, I think, 13 AVAs, I'm not sure, something like that. But in any case, we planted the vineyard in 1988, Pinot Noir, because of my connection with my beau-frère, Robert Parker. Some of you maybe have heard of him, have you?
Yes,
The
I
wine
heard of it.
advocate.
So what does beau-frère mean? Because you've mentioned it twice now. I want to make sure I got the
Beau-frère is French for brother-in-law,
Oh, okay. There we go.
not beautiful brothers.
Yes.
Which a lot of people
Okay.
believe, you know, Beau is beautiful and
Yes.
Frère is brothers.
Yeah.
But the way it's written, it translates into Beau-frère. So 50-50 partnership. And with his connections, I was able to meet some of the greatest winemakers in the world in Europe. Loire, Madame Biesel. Anyway, through that connection, we focused on Pinot Noir. We focused on the initial vintage of Beau-frère, which was the national rollout was 1992, and it was 800 cases of Pinot Noir. But because of that connection and because of his understanding of the world of wine, at that time Oregon was still a little provincial, not to be saying that's wrong or anything, but they were still trying to figure out, well, the signs were there that Pinot Noir was definitely the varietal of choice. Wouldn't you agree by then?
Yes, for sure.
I mean, the 83 vintage, and you mentioned the 85 vintage, certainly great vintages.
Yeah.
84 was a disaster, if you remember that. So we focused on just one varietal, Pinot Noir, for many years. So fast forward, my partner, 8 years older than I am. In fact, today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Robert. He decided to sell his share of Beau-frère. And Beau-frère is extremely successful. And I am one not to go into debt. I do not like debt. So we sold to the French in 2017. And with that money that I received, I still have some ownership of Beau-frère. But I bought an old dairy farm and resurrected it, repurposed it from a defunct dairy to a winery.
It's
And-
beautiful. I've been out there, and when we were talking maybe a year ago, I came up there and we were chit-chatting about stuff, but you've done a beautiful job with that building.
Well, thank you.
You-
I had a great architect.
Yeah.
I had a great general contractor. And I was involved as well, milling lumber for it, and anyway. So
I'm sorry, I used to drive by there for quite a long time when I worked for Elk Cove. And then when I started Dobbes and Mike Estate, I was leasing the old 12th and Estate facility up in Forest Grove. So it's
Bill
commuting
Fuller's
from
place.
Salem, yeah. And I drove by there for years, and what you've done is amazing. It's way cool.
You know, all it was a diamond in a goat's ass. All I needed to do was pluck the diamond.
Now, your first property, if I understood or remember from Jared, was a pig farm.
Yes, Beau-frère was a pig farm at the time.
And so
Originally, it was a dairy farm. Then it fell into disarray, and the government owned it. And some tenants came in and turned the dairy barn into a pig barn. And then when we purchased it, we inherited quite a few pigs. And so for a number of years, yes, I farmed pigs.
And how was that? Smelly.
Shitty.
Yes. Yes. They smell terrible.
Actually, they don't. They're very clean if you do your work.
That is true. They're very clean animals and very smart.
Yes. I actually enjoyed it. It certainly wasn't a money maker. It was a labor of love, and utilize the barn. But once we decided to turn the Beaufrere Vineyard into a winery, we got rid of the pigs, renovated the current winery, and got rid of the pigs.
There you go. Yeah, you can't have pigs and wine probably in the same
Well,
time. Does not mix well. Yeah.
Last time I was there, you had a pig that was, I swear it was like 10 feet long. Is that
Well, so we have a mascot.
mascot? Yeah.
Yes, and Pork Chop
Pork
is
Chop.
her name.
Is she still there?
No,
Oh, okay, that was a while
she
ago.
passed.
Yeah.
She passed in the woods next to Patty Green Cellars, where Beaufrere share a property line. And we couldn't, well, I don't wanna go there. Anyway,
Reminds me of a story. Can I tell a story? Real
Sure,
quick?
of course.
I was involved in a winery in Southern Oregon, making some wine for them, and the owner was from the south, and he had some neighbors that didn't like the idea of the winery being there, and they would bitch and moan, although it was, they were permitted to do it. And so Roy bought a bunch of pigs and put them right up against the fence by the neighbor. And the neighbor stopped complaining, and he got rid of the pigs.
Sometimes you gotta fight farming with farming.
That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
well, I really feel sorry for those who live next to a marijuana farm.
Oh, yeah, they're
That is
stinky.
so,
They're stinky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the dairy business, and to me, the smell of a dairy farm smell is money. I mean, that's what my dad always said.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
smells like
smell
money.
yeah.
Yes.
I
And-
worked on a
and-
dairy farm for 15 years
Yeah.
as a kid.
Yeah, I think we talked about that when I was out there because one, you liked the truck that I drove because you were surprised to see me pull up in a pickup, and then we have the dairy connections. And I think you worked at the dairy farm, if I remember long enough, because you liked the farmer's daughter.
Yes. Jocelyn Price.
Yes, it's the little details that you remember that make
Wow,
the
I
story
can't
so
believe it.
interesting.
What was her middle name?
Jocelyn Ford Price.
Okay. Impressive.
You know, your
You should
first
never
love.
tell. Yeah. You should never tell me little stories and details because I will remember all the ones that are juicy and fun. So yeah, I didn't remember her name, but I remember it was the farmer's daughter. It's always the farmer's daughter. Yes.
I can remember watching the moon, landing of the moon in their kitchen. You know, we would come home for lunch, and dairy farms back in those days were family run, very small, 65 head,
Mm-hmm.
70 head of milking. And we this one particular day in July, I believe it was, the moonwalk in 69, I think that was. Were you born then?
No.
I remember seeing that on TV.
5 years later,
Amazing.
I arrived. So after the moon landing.
So we're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're total, how many years in the business? 40 plus.
Well, 86
The 86, so
was
yeah.
when I purchased the farm, but I didn't plant the vineyard until 88.
Okay.
I did work for Dick Ponzi for 5 vintages, starting in 87.
So I've got a year or two on you. Okay.
So do you consider your entry into the business when you plant and start actually growing grapes and making wine, or when you were in distribution?
Well, normally people like to exaggerate how long they've been in business.
Okay.
So the day I planted a vine, 1988, I even sometimes exaggerate even further, 1986 when I bought the farm.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived in Colorado Springs at the time, didn't move out until the following year, after I concluded my business in Colorado Springs.
So you had somewhat of a purpose to find property to plant, it sounds like, or was this just
No, it was.
you're just driving by and you saw it and?
Saw a farm, and I had,
I mean, you came here in search of 83 Wind Hill, I know
Right.
that, it's a great.
well, in that year, 1986, there was the Vancouver had the World's Expo.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I decided to take a road trip from Colorado Springs to Oregon and then up to Vancouver to go to the expo. And in doing so, and picking up wine, and in doing so, happened to stumble on the farm.
Gee, you did pretty well.
It worked out okay.
Really dumb luck.
Yeah. But sometimes I think the best things in life are accidental and are complete and
And
total.
the wind was blowing the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
It's a
my
great
son.
story.
He was an accident.
Well, now that
Here, strike that from the conversation.
it'll live on YouTube forever. Okay, now that we've established timelines, let's kind of circle back to like the beginning of your own projects, because you both have worked for other people, you with Ponzi, you with Elk Cove, and sounds like maybe a couple others,
Yeah.
obviously in Europe. So what was the Kickstarter of actually doing your own thing? Was it, because you said you were just gonna grow grapes.
Correct.
Yeah, and what was that, like turning of the wheel that you're like, well, maybe I should make wine?
Well, financially, I could not make ends meet with 3 young children, and just there wasn't enough value in selling a ton of grapes.
Mhm.
The value is turn the grapes into wine, like a wheat farmer, turn the wheat into bread.
Yeah.
You can make money. Well, same thing. So it was, either I would have had to have sold the farm or got a job. My wife was at wit's end. I mean, we were pretty poor. And my brother-in-law, my partner, was tired of funding because planting a vineyard is expensive. And
Farming
waiting
is
3
expensive.
years before it became productive. Buying tractors and getting equipment, and it was a money drain. So it was a necessity.
Yeah. Was your years at Ponzi to kind of help, I guess, prep you for the winemaking piece of it?
Absolutely. So Dick Ponzi, the first year I was just a cellar grunt. Wash that tank, clean that floor drain, coil that hose. The second year, a little more experience, a little more exposure to what it took to make wine. And by the 5th year, basically, Mike, we're getting 10 tons in today, take care of it. Yes, sir. I had a work ethic. I liked the work. I still like the work. And Dick and I just got along. So in the first commercial vintage of Beaufrere, 1992, actually Dick was the engineer behind making that wine. It wasn't until 1993 that I was on my own. It was a great vintage too, 93.
Yeah.
I
Never
love how
tasted
you
it.
guys remember all these vintages. If there was a hot year, a cold year, a wet year, and I hear all you guys talk about this and it's over my head, in one ear, out the other, but it doesn't mean as much to me as far as I didn't live it, I didn't create it, I didn't grow it. So it's just, I love hearing the fact that you're connecting on that.
It's easier for me to remember the old vintages than the newer ones. Maybe it's dementia, I don't know.
That long-term memory that's cemented in there.
I can remember a lot of the vintages, but there's a few that are a little fuzzy. It's kind of I don't remember much about them. You remember the really great vintages?
And the difficult.
And the difficult.
Yeah.
Boy, because the difficult ones are the ones that really shape you. And
07,
yeah, 07,
01.
10, 01.
10, that was
01 was the seminal year where I decided to start my own company. I was making wine for Juan Valley Vineyards. I think I interrupted you, I'm sorry.
no.
That's okay. I love the fact that it's all
vintage
gonna
from
swirl
hell.
around each other.
Yeah. We had bins stacked up, all the tanks were full. I mean,
Yeah,
it
the
just,
yields
it
were-
is what it was. Yeah, the yields were off the map, but it wasn't fun at all. And did
I
the
think
best
there was a
I
little
could.
rain in there as well.
There was, yeah.
For me, the challenging vintages are the most rewarding because you put a lot of energy. The easy vintages, when it's hot and dry and there's not much. I don't remember those as much. And to me, 10, 13, 15, 07, 08, those are challenging vintages that turn really.
13 was
That was
horrific.
So what was that year?
Well,
Rain.
it was warm, and then we'd add some rain,
A lot of rain.
and then it would warm up again, and then the berries, the small little chicks, the small, the pea size, when we get some rains and they're pretty ripe, they'll crack, but they'll heal back over. You get like a little black aspergillus mold on the end of it. Doesn't hurt the wine. But then when it rains a second time, then the party's over. And those berries crack. The fruit flies get in there, and they're a vector for acetobacteria. And we had like what we call fuzzy mice. The clusters dry up and they're all fuzzy from botrytis and rot in the vineyard. So it really separated those that what I call practice prophylactic farming, and those that didn't, like leaf removal and was your spraying done on top of it. Even then, sometimes there was nothing you could do about it. And then we had fruit flies. They introduced the maggots in the grapes, and cheesy and fermenting in the vineyard, and
That's what adds depth to a wine.
Yeah. So if anybody ever tells you this is a vegan wine, don't believe it. There's no such thing. There's little insects out there. Sometimes little fruit fly maggots crawling around in the fermenter. This is the stuff that you don't hear about usually.
Yeah.
But
That's because wine is hoity-toity and clean and just this prestigious, precious thing. But people don't think about the farming. They don't think about all these problems that are out in the vineyard and the things that you deal with that, make it sticky and dirty and stressful and things like that.
yeah. I think the strangest vintage was 2011. Remember that? The wines
13 was the one for me.
Which one?
2013 was the.
Well, that was really, really tough. At 11, the wines wouldn't go through malolactic. I remember tasting some other people's wines, and we had wines in August that were still trying to go through it. I mean, almost a year later, the wines were real steely, and it was strange.
They age very well now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So let's go back to 13 again with all these fuzzy mice and maggots and stuff. So what do you do with that as far as like making the wine, and how did it turn out at the end?
If I had a publicist, they would have said, "Don't mention that part of it." And what do you do with it?
But here's the reality of a farm product.
Yeah, there's you pick grapes, and there's ladybugs in there, and earwigs, and whatever.
Spiders. I hear about the nightmares in Australia with these massive spiders that are crawling out of the bins.
We don't have those. Earwigs we have.
I get those in my house when I pick flowers, so you can't get away from those stupid things.
Some years are worse than other years. 2013 for me, what we did, well, first of all, we had to get cat tractors in there because the mud was so prolific. A wheeled tractor just spin and it's out of control. So it got so bad that I was singing a song, singing in the rain. I just said, fuck it.
Well, Gene Autry.
And didn't even bother to cover the bins with a tarp. We have slotted bins, but it just, for us, what we did was sort very extensively and had 6 or 8 people in the sorting line. Then warm up and kick the fermentation off sooner than later. And there's some additives like tannin. I don't know if you use it for color stabilization. And 13 is really, really delicious right now for us. I don't know what others have done.
I'm gonna go home and open some. I haven't had it in
I know. I'm gonna have to start looking for it as well and go, okay. That one I will remember. Like all this whole conversation, we'll put 2013 on a completely different shelf than everything else, just because I will remember.
Now 07 was a challenging vintage. I wasn't quite as efficient in managing the vineyard and the workload. We worked one night. We worked 23 hours in one day. Rahilio, who's still with me, just got 1 hour of sleep, up again and processing fruit. The yields were crazy high, and fermenters were hard to get, and that was a difficult vintage.
Yeah. Well, it's going back to 13. Another thing was, sorting the botrytis, the rot, ruins the anthocyanins, so you didn't have good color stability. So use tannins, oak chips, things that would kind of mitigate some of the off flavors. Do the best you can to not have any of that rotted fruit in there, and
You always get
a lot
that.
of sulfur.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way you can sort every berry. It is what it is. And then a lot of sulfur, metabisulfite, which is an antioxidant, antimicrobial to keep the bacteria at bay and allow the fermentation to get going. And
What's a lot for you? How many parts?
120, 100 parts. It's a lot. Yeah, but
We
you just
Ours.
nuke it. Yeah.
I think ours was 40 parts.
40
That's
parts.
A lot for us.
Yeah.
But
I mean, not all of it got that, but some of it. I mean, that's maybe a couple times.
today, the winemakers with white wines, they're throwing that kind of level of SO2 to arrest the fermentation, stress the yeast out, and create reduction.
Is that how
That's
they
the
do
new
that?
thing. Yeah, that's how they do it.
I was tasting some wines the other day. I mean, I love
Or
to get out.
deviating from the. But
It's all good information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but tasting other people's wines, and with my family and my daughter and my wife and my daughter's husband Matt is big time into wine. He works for Dobbes and other friends, and it's like, yeah, this Chardonnay is reductive. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't, and I've said, I don't know how to make a reductive wine. That's why I said, oh, is that how you do it? You add sulfur and
stress the yeast out.
stress the yeast,
and then they create sulfides.
Yeah, so you've got oxidative on one end of the spectrum and reductive on the other. I don't make oxidized wines, but I want to make fruit forward wines, and I wouldn't know how to make a reductive wine. It's just my style. It's just who I am, right? It's really interesting.
Well, the hipsters are doing it.
The hipsters, yeah.
Oh, the
You want to make
hipsters.
orange wine?
No. I am semi-retired, sequitur of the new brand that I have, 1,000 cases, that's it.
Yeah. Sequitur is a Latin word that means.
It's what follows.
It's
It's
what
what's
follows.
next.
Got it. It's a great name. Interim is a Latin word that means again, afresh, once more.
Ah,
So
cheers.
there you go. It's kind of like going full circle. I was making over 200,000 cases a year at Dobbs.
Oh my goodness,
Wine by
that's
Joe.
so much.
3,000 plus tons, 25 employees full time, 50 plus during harvest, and it was wow. So
Was
now
that your original vision?
No. Well, originally, years ago, I'm sure people asked you, are you ever going to start your own winery? Because I worked 17 years for others, like 2 years, a year in Germany, a year in Burgundy, the rest of the time here in Oregon, Elk Cove, Inman Vineyards, Yolo Hills. First ever winemaking job was in '89 at Yolo Hills Wine Cellars. So I shared the vintage with Ken Wright, and then he left to focus on Panther Creek and then moved forward. But people asked, do you want to get in the wine business? Like, no, I'm never going to do it because I just saw how capital intensive it was. But I digress. But the original question was, why?
Did you expect it to be that big? Was that the original vision?
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm both left and right brained. I'm not so sure that's always a good thing.
It's confusing sometimes.
Well, yeah, and I think I've been told I can do both well, but I saw an opportunity. Well, I was going through some life changes, right? I mean, I'd been working for others for 17 years. I was married for 9.5 years and 2 great kids, and unfortunately, went different directions with the marriage. And I was making wine for Willamette Valley Vineyards. I'd been there about 6 years. And
Jim Barnell?
Jim Bernal,
Is
great
he still
guy.
there?
Yes, yeah.
I heard that.
He's retiring.
He is?
Yeah, he's been trying to retire. He's one of my mentors. He's a great guy. He's a real visionary. Hell of
A lot of energy.
Yeah. So I was, 1,600 tons or something like that in 2001, and I said that was kind of a pivotal year for me. I was going through changes. I said, oh, the hell with that. I'm going to start a company. So I started a custom winemaking company and my own brand, Dobbs, in 2002.
Was that in Dundee or?
Well, I was I made the first vintage at Torrey Moor, So I was their winemaker in 2002.
Was
and
Patty Green there?
Consulted.
No.
That was right after
She
Patty
left.
left. Yeah, that's when the Torres happened. Anyway, that's another one. You can bleep that out. So yeah, 2002 I made Dobbes wines at Torrymore, and then I leased the old Tualatin Estate facility from Willamette Valley Vineyards. So when I was in 1996, which was my first vintage at Willamette Valley Vineyards, there was a real tragedy. Dean Cox was the winemaker, and he passed away harvest of '85. And I was at Hinman Vineyards at 9 in the morning on a Sunday, and the phone rang, and it was Kevin Chambers, who was the general manager, another great guy, at Willamette Valley Vineyards. And I was like, oh boy, this isn't good, what's going on? I just had this feeling. So anyway, long story short, I ended up making wine for Willamette after consulting for 9 months, and then went through these changes, and I put my head down and I said, all right, well, I rented then the Tualatin Estate facility, which Willamette merged with and bought the vineyards, and Bill Furler's place, and fixed the place up a little bit and started making wine. I did 500 tons in year one.
Holy moly.
500.
500 tons in year one. Yeah.
Nothing like going in with a bang.
Yeah, go big or go home, I guess. And I got a $250,000 equipment loan. I had very little money at that time because I was, going through a separation, divorce, and all that. And I'd done some consulting work, and I just put my head down and I went. I spent $225,000 of the $250,000 on equipment. Hired a couple good people and just went for it. And so made Dobbs wines, and then started Wine by Joe in 2003.
You sold that, didn't you?
I sold half. Yeah.
The Wines by Joe?
Yeah, Dobbs and Wine by Joe is now a 50% partnership, so that was consummated in 2017.
Do you have a diamond pinky ring?
Yeah. Gonna sell the other half. So,
Do you have a diamond pinky?
No.
Dang.
I've got a platinum ring that's not, it's egg shaped now because I never take it off.
Yeah, same as mine.
Yeah, it's not round. So anyway, yeah, I just put my head down, and by 2009, we're the second largest producer of wine in the state of Oregon. There were a lot of unsold grapes, so that's when A to Z got started. I think it was 2001. I started in 2002, and buy grapes and press them into juice and sell them the next day, and pay the grower a month later and get COD and just parlayed it. So arbitrage, basically, it worked. And we were profitable from day one, and as I say, we're second largest producer of wine by 7 years later, 2009, and my banker looked at me, Silicon Bank, Mark, and says, Joe, there's times when your company kind of outgrows you. And I said, yeah, no shit. Boom. So, I took on some partners. They had Bacchus Capital. They had recruited me for a couple of years, and then I finally said, all right, let's do it. And the idea was then to build it up and see what we can do with that. So, a lot of great long-term employees, good people.
Yeah, Sackwater has 2 employees.
You and?
Colin.
Oh, I've met Colin.
Yeah.
Colin's great. Yeah.
We have one.
You have one?
Besides my wife and myself, yeah. Well, my daughter does a great job part-time, moonlighting, helping with marketing and website and all that. She used to work for Dobbs as the assistant marketing director, and she got poached by Flaneur, and she's now the head cheese there for marketing and having a great time. So,
Oh, wow.
doing a good job.
Marty's done a good job in Carleton.
So, yeah.
So as far as like Beaufrere, so we've kind of gotten Joe's stories. He sold in 2017. When did Beaufrere? When and why did you decide to sell? And
I didn't want to sell, but again, I don't like being in debt. I never have been in debt, or very temporarily. Maybe a car loan or something when I was young. So I decided to we hired a firm in California that had international presence in marketing properties. And we found a French firm, Henriot Champagne House. They own Bouchard and William Febvre, and we partnered with them. I was somewhat selected because we were, at that time, Oregon was at a pinnacle of interest from Europeans. And so I had quite a few interesting clients come and look at the winery. And because I didn't want to sell all my shares, I was going to continue to make the wine. My son was working there and still is working there. So the RAO people were very, very good and family driven, and so we sold 82%, and I retained that little chunk. And then RAO sold to Artemis. Artemis is a bigger fish. They own Chateau Latour, they own Clos de Tart, some major great property. They own Christie's Auction House, they own Gucci, they own Puma, they own...
So a few small brands. That nobody's heard of, yeah.
And so their vision for Beaufrere is in line with my vision, maybe not quite, but all estate fruit, international presence, Scandinavian, presence, align ourselves with very high-end wines, quality at the utmost. So they have a very, very good educational program. My son travels quite a bit to Europe to visit, to learn both viticulture and enology.
How cool is that? Is Mikey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm on the board, but they don't listen to me at all.
You brought him to the party already, so.
And I actually don't want to I do some selective marketing. If they're really high-end, like Blackberry Farm, or go to Nashville, I love Nashville, or, Taos, New Mexico, things. I will do some marketing for them, but very little.
So here's my question to you both, because I'm assuming you both made a few pennies on these purchases and these partnerships. Why did you not retire? And why did you start a second brand?
I love what I do, and still love what I do. What am I gonna do? I don't play golf, I don't play tennis, I haven't learned pickleball yet. I like to hike, I like to farm. I still am in the vineyard every day during the growing season. Not necessarily doing work, but walking and thinking, setting gopher traps, things of that nature. Simple things.
That's what I did this morning.
And staying engaged. What are you gonna do? I'm still, knock on wood, healthy, and I am 71 years old. What are you?
64.
Oh, you're a
I didn't know you were that old.
chicken,
Yeah. No, you look great. And you just,
Well,
it's
because
all
I like
between
what
years,
I do.
right? And he's active.
Well, I mean, we have a friend that's, in Idaho, and he's 85, and he runs a blasting company, and, we've talked to him, as well, and we're like, when are you gonna retire? And he's like, if you retire, you die. He's like, I'm gonna continue doing whatever I do until I can't do it anymore, and it's probably gonna be when I'm dead, and somebody will figure it out from there.
I just say I'm a little tired, not
Yeah.
retired.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, but, I delegate things that I don't like to do, and I get engaged with things that I do like to do. I'm fortunate and I'm thankful, and I take one day at a time, though. You never know what tomorrow has to offer.
That's very true. And I think it's great that, you know, you get to kind of choose at this point. You've been there, you've done that, you've been through the trenches, you've done a lot of hard work, so why not choose the stuff that you are really enjoying?
Oregon is one of the hottest growing regions as far as, I mean, the world is looking at Oregon. The climate, the French are coming, the Italians are coming. Right now,
Californians have been here.
the Californians, right now the market is in turmoil internationally. Bordeaux is terrible right now. Their futures market is way down. Overproduction worldwide, but it'll clean itself out in a number of years. I mean, we have gone through business cycles. I have 3 of them. This is the 3rd one. This one's a little more concerning though, but Oregon is, you know, really in a very good spot compared to California. They're tearing out vineyards. But Californians, they've raised their Cabernet prices, you know, $300, $400, $500 a bottle. I mean, Harlem, what is that, $1,200?
Yeah, more, I heard what they were selling for the other day. It was like, you know,
Screaming Eagle,
That's insane. $1,200 a bottle. Is that like a newer vintage, or is that something that's been
just
aging?
released.
Yowza.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would not be drinking wine in California. I couldn't afford it. Definitely wouldn't be wasting a single drop of that. Or cooking with it. Yes.
Well, there's always those that will chase what you can't get and what's incredibly rare.
100%. Just had this conversation with somebody yesterday.
You know, there is your Pinot $90 or $100 a bottle, and they aren't for our highest end. That most people don't buy something like that, but even fewer that are chasing the Screaming Eagles and Harlans and, you know, all the power to them if they can do it. It's awesome. But I totally agree with what Michael said about Oregon. I mean, Oregon's hot. If you look at growth in the industry and press, I mean, we way out hit.
If we could get our Portland back healthy again, where we get tourism is down at the moment, partly because of the reputation of the state of Portland, homelessness and drug use.
You're the first Oregon winemaker that I've heard say that.
No,
I've said it.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
it's maybe a little controversial, but
Higgins,
yeah.
after Greg Higgins,
Yeah.
he's closing his doors because there's no business, all the vacancies downtown. The city is not what it used to be.
And Higgins is a Portland staple. Like they've been, I've been there the one time and it was amazing.
We
I
had
just
a lot
don't
of
get to
industry
Portland very
events
often.
there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Winemakers dinners. Portland was part of the draw to Oregon. I mean, there's other things, other dynamics that are going on out there as to why traffic is down. But dare I say that maybe that's part of it.
That's one part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Our leadership and our government, they're alienated the Canadians, they've alienated the French, they've alienated the Mexican community, so that all has an effect.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. So why did you start over again?
Interim, going full circle again, fresh. I was making so much wine. I mean, I love what I do. And
So what's your production?
Yeah, I never said it. It's a little less than 2,000 cases.
Well, that's
So we're
manageable.
doing, Method Champenois. The wine in your glass right now is 2019 Blanc de Blanc. 2019 is when we started Interim, my wife and myself. I had never made Method Champenois. I worked for others for 17 years and then founded Dobbes and ran that for 17 years. So I was CEO, winemaker, did all the contracting, had a great team, great systems in place. And it was just time to have partners, long-term employees, and it was just time to walk away. So I took 2 years off, and my wife and I ended up buying the place that we live on now. It's 21 acres on the West Slope of the Eagle Hills.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. You've been there, yeah.
Yes, the
we
the
look at the
gardens
Van
and the
Duzer
water
corridor.
are amazing.
It's you need to come out again. There's
Just need the invitation.
just expanded the back patio by 750 square feet for my daughter's wedding, and that was a good tipping point, a reason to do it. Beautiful property, we fell in love with it. I used to make wine for Greg and Ann Cost from that property. Around 2004, 2005, I think, when we first started, for about 4 or 5 years. I had good success with it, fell in love with the property. Their life ended up getting complicated, had a daughter, and ended up going separate directions, and long story short, then we leased it and farmed it, Dobbes family estate, for about 4 or 5 years. And then it sold to a couple from California, and then we bought it from them in 2018. So I took off, 16 was my last vintage at Dobbes, where I was selling and making. 17, 18, first time in 30 some years that I didn't make wine. It was awesome. I went fishing, I spent more time with my family, I had some other business interests, and just reflected on where I've been, what do I want to do. And initially we didn't know we were going to buy this property. It just kind of came up, and it had been on the market for a couple of years, and I told my wife, let's go out there and check it out, because we had been there before, of course, fell in love with it, and we bought it. We closed September 7th of 2018, my daughter's birthday, and watched the grapes go to A to Z, because they were under lease, or they had the lease on the property, and then in 19 started making wine. And I had never made method champenois, so in all those years, 17 years of working for others, in those years, nobody was making sparkling wine, in the 89, 90, etc. If there were very few, very, very few. Then with Dobbes, we grew so quickly and had so much on our plate that this is very labor intensive, it's very expensive. You take some great grapes and make still wine, and then put it in the bottle with some sugar and the crown cap and let it ferment and forget about it for 4 or 5 years. And so it just didn't work for where we were at that time. But starting Iterum, I want to do things I'd never done before. I hadn't organically farmed before, so the whole place is organic. Bubbles, Rosé and Pinot, and Blanc de Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc, hadn't made Sauvignon Blanc since many, many years. So we had some designates called Old Friend. So Iterum, Old Friend, Oak Grove Vineyard, Sauvignon Blanc. Iterum, Old Friend, Arlen Vineyard, for instance. So then I brought on some wines to the portfolio of some vineyards that I had worked with over the years that were just, the superstars, just the ones that really stood out. And so then we have the estate, Orchard House, our Chardonnay, and now Sauvignon Blanc, and here we are.
What are you doing different with Sequitur?
Well, it's a 12-acre vineyard, which I sell most of the fruit to Beaufrere, Walter Scott, and Hundred Sons. We scrape out about 15 tons out of 30, 35 tons. What's different with the Beaufrere and is clonal selection. Spacing slightly more dense. Clonal, many, 17 different clones of Pinot Noir on 3 different rootstocks.
At Beaufrere?
No,
Or
it's
Sequitur?
Sequitur.
And where is Sequitur in relation to Beaufrere? Is it right next door or above?
Yes,
Yes,
so
above.
there's 3 ridges that Beaufrere own. The first one, most southern one, closest to Patty Green, is the original Beaufrere vineyard. Then in 1999, we purchased 40 acres, calling it the Upper Terrace, which is our El Presidente line. Of the 40, 10 acres is vineyard, the rest is forest. And then in 2010 or 11, my wife and I purchased the Sequitur property. That's 60 acres, of which we planted 12, and that's directly adjacent to the Upper Terrace. So it's all marine sediment, dry farmed, organic, biodynamic. Concrete fermenters are different instead of stainless steel. What else? Some whole cluster, but not much different than Beaufrere.
Are you doing all Pinot?
We planted 1,200 vines of Chardonnay. In 2012, when I planted the vineyard, yes, Chardonnay was yet to be a force. Now it is a major force. And so I'm thinking of maybe grafting over some Pinot to Chardonnay to expand the Chardonnay program. But right now we do 800 cases of Pinot Noir and 100 cases of Chardonnay and 100 cases of white Pinot Noir. Very simple, and hopefully it will stay that way. Make life easy. We sell most of it through the tasting room, a little overseas, a little in California, and a little in the wine country here. So it's manageable. I'm not gonna
Smart.
Hey,
like
Mo,
you.
you help her
Well,
out,
I'm,
please.
yeah, less than 2,000 right now. I don't know. We'll grow that much or whatever. We're primarily direct to consumer, and secondarily then we sell a little bit in Tennessee. Haven't been to Nashville yet. I'm working on getting there.
It's a great city.
Yeah, we sell in Norway and Virgin Islands, so places I like to travel.
Wow.
And they're, both those markets are doing great. They're new this last year.
I love
so.
it. My wife and I are hikers. We hike. We take hiking trips, Ireland, Italy, and Norway was on our,
It's spectacular.
yeah, I heard.
The Scandinavians love Oregon Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
Boy, when I was at Himmen Vineyards in 90 through 95, we exported a lot of Pinot Noir to Sweden.
Our show was number 7 in Sweden, like 2 years
Wow.
ago. I know, it's super random, don't know if it's true, but that's what I was told.
What was it?
The actual podcast was number 7 in Sweden, and wine podcast in the.
Now you'll edit this down, right?
Yeah.
You can't keep the attention of someone this long.
These will usually go
I don't know,
on,
you're pretty dynamic.
yeah, these will usually go about an hour, and, especially with conversations like this, people will listen, yeah. Oh, all of our snacks are coming in.
Smells great.
Well, I have a big dinner and I don't know if I'm gonna get.
Well, whatever you don't eat goes home to my husband for dinner,
Ah,
so.
there you go.
Yes, he doesn't hate it when we have podcasts. Yeah.
You doing a dinner tonight? What are you doing?
It's a celebration of a friend who's actually been making wine for 50 years.
Wow.
Tony Soder.
Yeah.
It's a surprise party for him. So.
Well, tell him hello and congratulations. He's such an icon, that guy. Yeah.
He started, his first vintage was 1975 in California.
Yeah.
And, he was, and he's basically, I don't know the level of involvement, but pretty much retired.
Yeah. No, he's been very successful. Remember, I met him at Steamboat years ago, and there was a big discussion about sulfides in wines. So Steamboat were winemakers from throughout the world, for those of you listening who don't know what it's about. Before or after the International Pinot Noir celebration, go to Steamboat Inn on the South Umpqua River.
Beautiful place.
Beautiful place, yeah. And it's 3 intensive days of tasting wines blindly, and it's not intended to be a beauty show. It's meant to be problem wines,
Right,
where you
right.
can learn.
Flawed wines.
Yeah.
And so you can-
And Tony gave a seminar on sulfides, and it was amazing. Yeah, I was a lot younger back then, so learned a lot.
Okay, so here's my final question for you guys. This could actually take a while. So you've been through the industry for 40 years-ish now. So what are your biggest takeaways and what's changed?
Prices, labor, equipment. The 3-tier system, they're lazy. They don't sell your wine.
There's no
Boom.
punches being pulled.
No,
Yeah, no
that's-
secrets.
They want you to come and sell their wine and discounted FOB
Right.
and samples and
Bill backs.
bill backs. What's changed? But what hasn't changed and is the camaraderie in Oregon. Dick Ponzi and I still are close. He's in his 90s. We celebrate milestone events together. We were just at Josh Bergstrom's 50th birthday party. The industry came out down at Hi-Fi down the road. We all brought wines and shared. The collaboration of what you mentioned, Steamboat, where winemakers would come and bring their flawed wines to discuss and to learn from. International Pinot Noir Celebration was one of the greatest collection of wineries in the world at Linfield College here in McMinnville. Pinot Camp, the collaboration there, every June, I guess it is.
Yep, still ongoing for
we
a lot of years.
We invite those merchants, whether it's on premise or off premise, we invite those who support Oregon wines and wine and dine them on the merits of the different AVAs.
Trade people only from throughout the world.
Right.
So it's not a consumer event like the International Pinot Noir Celebration was.
And it's an honor to be invited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's and it's not easy to get invited. You have to have a number of people.
These were cutting edge events that the pioneers, the Pat Dudleys, the Bethel Heights, the Ponzis, Nancy Ponzi, who else, were instrumental in bringing attention to this little struggling wine community in the 70s and 80s.
A place where supposedly we couldn't ripen grapes.
Right.
It was said. UC Davis, you can't ripen grapes up there.
But you also talked about what has changed. There's now a restaurant scene in the wine country. There is now lodging that accommodates the affluent traveler, the Allison, the Tributary, what else?
Atticus.
The Atticus.
Yep, around the corner.
You need those support industries to bring people who travel and want the very best. Tasting rooms. Back when I started, you started, very few tasting rooms because we didn't have tourism. So tourism has really helped the industry. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last I looked, the wine industry in Oregon was over a $3 billion industry, and there's other things that have gone by the wayside, and Oregon wine is internationally known. Other changes, the people that are coming in. So, I started in Oregon in '89, and I was talking about the handful of people that started in the industry. So now you've got young people that are looking at wine as a career, whether it be viticulture and or enology, sales, marketing.
Linfield.
You got Linfield, Chemeketa Community College.
Oregon
State has a food science program.
All three of my kids went there.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know
My
how
daughter
they
went
did
there. A big change also were the clones that I think David Adelstein primarily was responsible for, what we call the Dijon clones. So they came in from the nurseries, the institute in Dijon, where they were cultivated and were in quarantine for about 10 years. And David brought in the Dijon Pinot Noir clones. I think primarily the biggest one was the Chardonnay clones that ripened earlier and allowed us to make world-class Chardonnay.
Well, I think the winemaking though has also changed.
Well, for sure.
With Chardonnay.
Yeah. Winemaking's changed, savviness in the vineyard has changed.
I remember years ago what we considered ripe for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay was at least 24 bricks. We looked at sugar, not acid. Today, it's the opposite. We look at the profile, the acidity. Sugar's 19 for Chardonnay, 19, 20. That's a radical change. The use of new wood was excessive in high-end wines. you know, the expensive wines today, there's a very judicial use of oak. That's not overly, you know, they use it less of it. Many different viticulture, certainly viticulture with climate change, has changed. Row directions, cover cropping, leaf pulling versus no leaf pulling, canopy management to shade the grapes in an afternoon 100-degree day. We never used to have those back in the early days. We used to, I mean, you remember when September, October, the migratory birds come in and they would pick us clean.
2010, the year of the birds. I remember standing with my general manager in the winery door, and it was October 15th, and we hadn't picked any grapes yet. The birds were horrific. It was cold, it was wet. We started picking it on October 18th. We harvested a lot of grapes, and that was scary. Now it's, dare I say, a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, well,
I mean, the wines are more consistent from vintage to vintage. Never say never, it'll change. But
well, we hope it gets some cool weather. This growing season's been very good, though, I think.
I haven't heard a lot of complaints yet this year, so usually get, you know, my vineyard farmers come in and I always ask them like, how's it going? And sometimes I get berated and other times they're like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, we haven't lost a lot of sleep over it yet.
It's, disease pressure is minimal, yields are high, canopy, the color of the leaves are beautiful. So really, so far, but it isn't over until we get it in the barn.
You know, a
It can
true
change.
farmer, when you're talking about the little details like that, the colors of the leaves, and then you mentioned the barn, so that was the cap of it all. True farmer, Mike, start to finish, I love it.
it's easy to become a bit complacent.
Yeah.
Right, oh, the sun's coming up, it's gonna be fun, and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, where'd all this rain that's forecasted come from? And it's usually when it's about ripe, right? So.
Well, what else has changed in our years?
Well, we kind of touched on it, just the overall professionalism in the winery, you know, degree of education, traveling winemakers, and
Yeah, the market is a little more competitive.
you think,
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more going on now than I can imagine there was back in the 80s and 90s.
But I do remember in the 80s going out on the road, we collectively, we called ourselves the Party of Seven. It was Ken Wright, myself, Lynn Panarash, Steve Dorner with Christum, Laurent Montague with Willa Kenzie at the time, Bethel Heights, and we would travel together to different cities to do have some impact. And there would be people coming up and saying, well, where's Oregon? I'm serious. I mean, I remember that.
overnight success after 40 years in the industry. I mean, the industry, modern era, right?
It takes a while for greatness to emerge.
It does, yeah. I mean, California's still the paradigm for wine, in my opinion. I mean, they make way more wine than we do. And a lot of the flavor profiles, I think, older generations, my stepmother, for instance, she loves that big buttery Chardonnay.
We'll probably be tasting some of those tonight.
Yeah.
The old style Chardonnay,
Right.
Pinot Noir,
Yeah.
or Cab.
But what's cool about, the customers that show up at our place are like, I really love Oregon Chardonnay. I didn't like Chardonnay before. It's like, we're more European, we're cool climate. It's more about the fruit and the fresh acidity.
It's interesting that you bring that up. A lot of my clients, certainly at Beaufrere, they started with Bordeaux, Cabernet Sauvignon from California, and now they're migrating to the user-friendly Pinot Noir.
I tell them you'd rather drive a bulldozer or a Jaguar.
Well, gentlemen, this has been lovely. I do want to make sure that everybody knows where and how to find you. I mean, they know probably how to find Beaufrere and Dobbs, but Sequitur's kind of tucked into this cool little barn complex, and you have to actually come find you.
Yeah, we're behind a gate, 2/10 of a mile on West Slope of the Eola Hills.
And what do you have?
Interim Wines.
You have a sign at the end of the road that says "Keep Out."
They have to put their fingerprint on there and pre-qualify for the code, appointment only. And we do food and wine pairings, and people love it. It's a great one, well, 2 on, however, any experience, my wife and myself. We don't do a lot of events. We do events for full service society members and reward dinners and things like that. And so you've been there, Heidi.
I have. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Yosemite Hills, so we're a little off the beaten path from, Yamhill County or Polk County. So it's like, yeah, come on down south.
You're on the south side and right in the heart of the Van Duzer Winds.
We are. It's spectacular. Yosemite Hills, spectacular. Sub-AVA, cooler. We get the coastal breeze. We're only 42 miles from the coast. It's a crow flies. And Chardonnays in particular, just singing from Yosemite Hills. Pinot Noir's not bad either.
You are on the opposite side of the county. Well, you're in Yamhill County.
Yamhill County,
Yep.
right outside, right backside of Dundee, where it all started many years ago with David Lett. Sequitur is an old dairy farm that was repurposed into a winery. We make wine for others, custom crush. I don't consult, don't like consulting, but we do lease our space out for other wineries. We have a small tasting room by appointment, and we taste current vintages, and we go all the way back to 2014, our first vintage. Because we don't have a strong marketing arm to our company, we have older vintages.
I will say that I love that both of your kids have gone into the business, because all 3 of yours are in the business on some level.
Yes.
One's more on the craft brew side, and then the 2 boys, the other 2 are on the wine side, and then I don't know I know Amelia is in the wine side.
Yeah, Amelia's the elder
yeah.
of my 2 kids. And Griffin lives here in Mac, and my son lives in Salem, where I live. He's in supply chain management. So he works for a California company, works from home, and has a great lifestyle.
Man, I can't believe these kids working from home.
Oh, I know.
I'd lose my mind.
How much money are you making, and you work at home in your slippers? I mean, wow, things have changed, right?
Things
I mean,
have changed.
I'm really happy for him. He kills it. He loves it. He used to work for me a little bit in the vineyard and the winery, and he knows what he likes.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Everybody finds their lane for sure.
For sure.
So, okay, anything you 2 want to add before I say thank you and goodbye?
Well, no, thank you for having us, and I get 71 years old, nobody talks to me anymore. So.
Mike, I'll call you every week. If
It's
you need
nice.
me some attention, I will call you every week and come out and hang out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
For having
Thanks for doing this, and
And
thanks
thank
for
you.
agreeing to do it. Yeah.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
Been a while.
Well, let's get together socially.
Yeah.
All right.
We also have a Pinot Noir that we need to open too that we haven't even cracked open yet. You 2 are still sipping on the first,
Well, it's hard to drink around
serving
this.
of
Yeah.
I've
You
gone
guys
through 2
have to-
glasses.
What I brought you was the 23, the current release of the Pinot Noir from Sequitur called Blue. My
Blue?
wife, yes. My wife is the packaging guru. I'm the winemaking part of it, the production part, and she's kind of the marketing part. So every year she chooses a name of the cuvee, of the vintage, that has some significance in the growing season. So, so blue is because we had a blue moon during 2023. We had a super blue moon, which means 2 blue moons in 1 month, and then it rained. So that left a mark on the vintage, so therefore she calls it blue. The back label will explain it very poetically. She writes very well. And that's what I brought you to try. So please, try it.
I am excited to try it. I will tell you that my only other time trying your wine, I made a complete and total ass out of myself. My husband is still a little bit bent out of shape about it. Because I don't usually ever order wine at a restaurant, and I don't usually say anything. And we were in Vegas at a very high-end restaurant, had the Somm at the table, and I was given the task of ordering wine. And wine lists overwhelmed me terribly, because they're 17 pages long, and there's whatever. So I found a Beaufrere on the thing. I'd never had it, and I'm like, and it was a, I don't know, 2015, 2016, whatever. And so I'm like, well, we'll take this one. And the Somm was like, great, that's a great vintage, that's a great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's great, but just something you might want to spell the name of it correctly, because it was horribly spelled. Like, if you're gonna charge $300 a bottle, spell the name.
V-O-W?
Yes, spell the name right. And he's like, how do you know it's spelled right? And I'm like, well, I know him, and it's wrong. And he's just, the scowling look that I got from this guy in this restaurant was terrible, but I bet they wouldn't spell it right.
It's a good thing he wasn't cooking your food.
Yeah, probably not. And I never say anything, but I think I'd had enough wine and cocktails at that point that I was mouthy. So there you go.
Well, thank you for correcting him.
Yes, I think it was missing one of the vowels. So, it was done. So anyhow, thank you, gentlemen.
You're
So
welcome.
appreciate your time.
That's fun.
So appreciate the wine. We're gonna go have some snacks here in a minute. And thank you to everybody who's listening. This was a great episode. 2 legends of the industry, not only in Oregon, but worldwide. I'm so proud to call you my friends, and thank you for being here and taking the time in my little living room here. Big thank you to John, our audio guru over there, that is gonna make all of this sound amazing. Ricky and staff at Pura Vida for bringing us some snacks today. And Monique, of course, my lovely assistant, for photos and helping with everything else. So this is your time to go buy some wine, make some appointments, and go see these gentlemen and support their new projects, and the old projects for that matter. They still have
There we go.
a stake in it. So buy some
Yeah,
wine.
here's to the old and the new.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Very good.